Okay, let's do this thing. Good. Wow, what a gig. I know we are coming up to the end now of what I think for everybody has been quite an extraordinary day. I don't think that anybody anticipated the sheer numbers of people that we've had here in the Vegfest. The first one we've had in the island of Ireland, and I think it has been a truly huge success. And thank you so much to everybody who has been here and made this such an incredible thing. And I'm just going to give you a talk now towards the end of the day. I hope you're not too tired or too full of all the food that's been available for us. And isn't it just great that when we come here we can just wander along and eat everything that we want to. It's all day. You don't have to ask anybody, is that okay? You know it's good. So, without further ado, I mean, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint at all. No bullet points anywhere in this one. But I'm just going to throw up a few little things on the slide as we go through. And I've titled my talk From a Spark to a Fire, Vegan Advocacy in Action. And the reason I do that is because we know that we do not, as yet, have the vegan world that we know that we would so like to have, and in fact that we absolutely should have. But for those of us who are already vegan, or at least vegan curious, and we know that that's the way we want to go, for everybody else who isn't yet vegan, or hasn't got around to that thing as yet, it is incumbent upon us to create that vegan world. Kind of similar to the things that Tim was just talking about a little while ago in the speech before this one. So when we communicate with others, when we are dealing with those who are not vegan, it is about setting something off in their lives, creating, if you like, a little spark of something that just starts to change how they think about their life, about their treatment of other animals, about the environment, about our world, and what they themselves personally can do to create that vegan world with us. So when we communicate, it is about creating that little spark. And hopefully once we have that spark, then that will light something up in them, and it will become a fire in their soul. It will make them burn with something really amazing. Because for those of us who are already vegan, who've already done those things, we already know that being vegan is as good as it gets. It doesn't get any better than that. And our souls are on fire with the joy and the life that comes from living vegan. And so what we're going to talk about today is my approach to the whole thing. And just by way of introduction to myself, I know there already was a little introduction, but just by way of an explanation of who I am, I'm an author. I've got a couple of books. I have copies here if you want to buy them, and I'll have them downstairs on a table in the main hall if you want to purchase those as well, where I talk about and describe my vegan philosophy. I'm also a public speaker, a narrator, if you like. I like nothing more than having the opportunity to get out there and talk with passion about the wonder of living a vegan life and just how good that is for us, for those others with whom we share this planet, for the environment, for everything. It's a win, win, win all round. So I like getting out there, giving my speeches. And I am also an ex-politician. I did try that stuff, but as we know, politics is a pretty brutal business. And I like to think of myself as a nice person. And politics isn't really something that is for nice people, really. It's a pretty brutal world. And in fact, certainly where I have been and where I was working as a politician in England, the UK electoral system is somewhat corrupt as well. And for those of us who want to participate in the political arena on a smaller political scale than those really large, very well-funded parties, it's really hard to get your voice heard. And I found it a real challenge to get my ideas across. We did our best, but you get drowned out by the big parties. So for us, I don't think we were really able to reach the numbers of people that we would like to. And I like to think that my approach to communicating the vegan life through education, through speeches and through books is something that is more effective. I'll leave politics to those who want to play that dirty game. So, my vegan philosophy I describe as epic. Because it is, it's just a really big thing. There is nothing more huge than being a vegan. It just changes everything for you. It becomes this incredible, explosive and amazing thing that sets your life on fire. It is life plus. It is a bigger version of being alive. Because all of a sudden you're doing things and thinking things and feeling things that nothing else gives you. You have something going on inside of you that is just huge. And you want to express that. You want to take the opportunity to communicate that to people. You want to tell everybody else about how amazing it is. And so my vegan philosophy I describe as epic. And I use that word as well for another reason, because there's something that hides behind each of those letters in that word. And we'll talk about those. The first one is an E. And so we'll start with an E. And what's behind that? First and foremost, we have education. And I think that this is one of the most important things that we as vegans can do to help to create that vegan world. I think if we have the opportunity to articulate to others and explain to others about what the vegan life gives to you, then that is the very, very best thing we can do. There's other approaches to articulating what veganism is, or talking about veganism to non-vegans. And I accept that there are different ways of approaching something where you want to achieve the same goal, the same end point. But I'm not really somebody who wants to stand on the street with a megaphone screaming and shouting at people, calling them scum and things like that. Because I genuinely don't believe that that is likely to set off that spark inside of them. When I've attended demonstrations like that, where there's been a lot of really high emotion, but negative high emotion, a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, a lot of negative words being used, then I think that people who are experiencing that from a non-vegan perspective aren't seeing that in a positive light. They're seeing that in a really negative light, as something that's bad and wrong in terms of how it comes across to them. So I feel that having a positive, educative approach to veganism is something that is more likely to get those people to want to stop and listen. And one of the big ways that I've done a lot of vegan education over the years is going to a lot of schools and colleges and youth groups and things like that. Because I think that the generations coming after my generation are really important. They will, as I tell them, they will literally inherit the earth. It will be theirs. And we're leaving a hell of a mess for them. It is really, really damaged, and yet they are going to have to do something about it. But what is not going to be appropriate is for them to just do what we've done. We've already caused all of that damage to the world, and we need people who are going to come after us and do things differently. One of my books is called The Meat Delusion, and the subtitle is A Polemic for a 2020 Vision. And I use that phrase, 2020 vision, in two different ways. 2020 vision, of course, just means perfect sight. And I believe that the vegan life is the most perfect life that we can have. But also at the same time, it's 2015 already, and it's going to be 2020 very soon, and we are running out of time. We have got to do something, and do something now, about the way that we're treating other species with whom we share this world, about the environment that we have, about how we live our own lives. And the generation coming after us cannot do what we've done, because it will be game over. We cannot carry on the way we have been. So when I do my vegan education, I am super keen on reaching out to those young people who are growing up. And when I go into schools and colleges and youth groups, I find that they are really open to new ideas. Very often when I talk to them, I know that the things I'm saying to them about the animal farming industry, about the destruction of the planetary environment, about the damage done to wildlife and other species, it's the first time they've ever heard anybody talking in that way. But they are really keen to hear. If you present it positively, If you communicate it well, then they are willing to listen. And if we can do that and get them to hear, I know when I'm standing in front of a classroom or a whole assembly hall, you can look into somebody's eyes and you can see that you've reached into them and you have set off that spark in their life. And if you can do that and then walk away, then you know that you've captured those people. They will start to think about those issues. And it's so important that we do that. Education is one side of it. It's also about how we tell them about the vegan life. The other word that sits behind E is easy. Because for so long, people were told, people felt that going vegan was so hard. It was just so difficult. There's no way it could be for them. Other people with incredible resilience and strength to do these things, maybe they can go vegan, but it's not for everybody, is what they get told. And sometimes some people already themselves vegan tell other people, oh, it was really tough for me to go vegan, it was so difficult, I struggled for years. But it doesn't have to be that way. It is actually really easily, especially in somewhere like here in the so-called first world. There is absolutely nothing difficult about going vegan. Everything is there. With the internet and social media, there is so much information out there to help people to know about what to do with the vegan life and how to buy products and how to access things and how to find out about things. It's all there, ready at their fingertips to know about those things. And going shopping is so much easier than it used to be. There are so many products now that are available, not only online but also just in regular stores as well. And we see like restaurants and other places are providing more vegan options. You see the word vegan written down on menus far, far more than you ever used to do in the past. So when we are trying to advocate, when we are wanting other people to come into this vegan world that is so special for us, then we can say, it's just so easy. We don't have to tell people it's difficult, because it's not difficult. It's one of the easiest things that they will be able to do. And we can guide them, we can help them, we can give them information, we can tell them pointers about where they can find things and how they can do things. And it's so simple. There's nothing hard about the vegan lifestyle anymore. Empathy is a really important part of vegan education. Now, of course, a lot of people who are already vegan do tend to be empaths themselves. They tend to be those who have looked into the eyes of farmed animals, for example, and they know the way we treat them is just plain morally wrong and unacceptable. They have this connection, this understanding about how they and other animals are essentially the same. We're all earthlings, and if we don't want to be treated badly, then of course we don't want other animals to be treated badly either. But in terms of vegan education, empathy works the other way as well. We are, as I say, at the moment in a non-vegan world. And when we talk to people who aren't vegan or probably not heard or know much about veganism, then we have to be empathetic about their situation and recognise and understand that they just don't know. And for a lot of them, it's not their fault. And again, that's why I don't want to scream and shout at people. I don't want to abuse those people or make them feel like they're the worst thing going, because it's not their fault. They are bombarded day after day after day with the meat and dairy industry giving them this idea that they must have meat, that they're supposed to have meat, they must have dairy, they must have milk in their diet to have strong bones, and all those other nonsenses as well. That's what they hear, and that's what I describe in my book as the meat delusion. It is absolutely everywhere. It just doesn't go. It's hard to avoid it because we are still, unfortunately, just for now, in a non-vegan world. So we have to understand that people don't know. And therefore, for those of us who do know, we have to recognise that, understand what that means for them, and let them know that we will guide them. We will be supportive of them. We will give them all the information they could ever possibly wish to have. And we will help them to have what we have, this wonderful sense of living a good vegan life. So understanding other people, is so important. That's E, taken care of. P, in epic. There's a couple of things that sit behind P, and I'll put them deliberately together. Passion and positivity, because being vegan, as we know, is, as I said, as good as it gets. It gives you this sense, this feeling, this wonder, this amazement that you are living the best of all possible lives. Because when you wake up in the morning until you put your head down in the evening, you have lived a life that's the absolute best of your ability, has harmed no one. And it has been full of life and goodness. The vegan life is about all in our lives that is decent and merciful and just and caring and compassionate and loving. It doesn't get any better than that. When you're living that life, that is just the most incredible thing. And if you can feel that and sense that and know that, then reach out to other people with that positivity. Tell them, let them know how good it feels to live to the very best of your chances. A cruelty-free, compassionate, caring, decent, moral, loving life. This is an amazing thing that we're doing. So of course we want to reach out to other people and let them know. And communicate it with passion as well. I mean, really feel this thing. Because this is as good as it gets. And I keep saying that for exactly that reason. Because it can't get any better than that. You can't be more loving than knowing that you care about everyone on earth. No matter how many legs they may happen to have, whether they have skin or fur or scales, it doesn't matter to us. We care about them anyway. And having that feeling, that soulfulness that reaches out to every life on earth. Of course we want to communicate that and speak about that with energy and enthusiasm and this passion and talk so positively about it. We are the absence of everything that is dark and cruel and aggressive and violent in this world. We are the absence of everything that is bad. We are the essence of everything that is good in this world. So let's reach out to people and let's really express that. Let's give people that sense, that feeling that we have ourselves, and let them know how good things can be. That takes care of P, which brings me on to an I in epic. Something really important sits behind I, which is intelligence. We want to think well and articulately and intelligently about what the vegan life is and how we can best communicate that to others. We don't want to come across, as I say, as being aggressive and antagonistic and harsh to people. We want to come across in a positive and communicative way to people. And we want to think well about the evidence that supports the fact that the vegan life is the only life to live. That means having full regard to the evidence of science and natural justice. Everything about this world that tells us about why veganism is the right thing. So let's learn, let's give ourselves the chance to educate ourselves about all of these things. Let us find out about why animal farming is so wrong. Let us find out about why animal-based food products, so-called, are so damaging and so bad to our physical and psychological health. Let us find out and give ourselves all the information that we need to understand why animal farming, animal agriculture and all the other uses and therefore abuses to which we put other animals are so damaging to the environment. We need the planetary system to support us. We are completely, pathetically dependent, of course, upon a planetary ecosystem that supports human life, along with all the other earthlings as well. We know we are causing great damage to that, so let's find out about that. Let's educate ourselves about how all of that is happening. Arm ourselves with information so that when we are talking to people who are non-vegan, people who don't know, as I say, through no fault of their own, often don't understand these issues. We've got all the information that we need to share with them, to tell them about why all those things are so wrong and so damaging and what they can do instead. Thinking intelligently about these things is not only about knowing what we don't like about the use to which other animals are put, but knowing what we do like, understanding what kind of world we do want to have, and being able to express that and talk to people about what a vegan world would actually look like. What would it mean to people? If we're talking to farmers who at the moment are entrapped in that livestock farming environment, then what are they going to do? How are they going to live instead? What kind of options are we going to give to these people? We need to think intelligently about these things. We need to arm ourselves with all the information so that when they come to us and ask us, what is this going to be like? What is your world going to be instead? Then we've got it. We've got that information. So let's think smart about these things. And if we do that, that will hopefully inspire those people to want to do those things as well. And if we put that intelligence together with the passion and the positivity that I've talked about, and doing this in an educative and informative way, then that is far more likely to get inside the soul of somebody who previously knew nothing about these things. But let's give them good information and let's communicate it positively to these people. And if we do that, we are so much more likely to reach into them and set that little spark off in their soul that gives them this sense that yes, this is something for them too. They too can join in with this wonder and this amazement that comes from living that compassionate and loving vegan life. Let's give them something good to feel about. And then C, finally, C in epic. I talked just then about communication, and communication is something that we absolutely must do. And hopefully we do want to do that, because once we've felt it, once we've got there, once we know about these things, then surely we just want to tell absolutely everybody about how cool this thing is. Let's let them know about how marvellous this is. And let's not stop talking about it. Let's take every possible opportunity to articulate this. Whenever we get the chance to mention it, let's mention it. Let's continue to communicate. If we set that spark off in somebody, let's make sure we carry on talking to them about these things and guiding them and supporting them and helping them to know more about how they too can live a vegan life. We should not, and we definitely must not, be silent about this thing. I know that over a long period of time, people have often felt maybe they're the only vegan in the workplace, they're the only vegan in the village. It feels kind of tough at times. You seem to be arraigned against all these other people, and you think, this is really tough. And then sometimes that causes people to shrink back a little bit, to hide a little bit, and maybe not mention it too much. But if we do want to create a vegan world, if we do want to have that thing that we know is so desperately important and help out all of those other animals who today are being so badly treated, then no, let's not be silent. Let us not hide this. This is a good thing. What we have is amazing. What we have is brilliant. It can't, as I keep saying, get any better than this. So let's not hide it. Let's not put it to one side and think, well, that's just me. It's not for us to tell everybody else about it. No, let's do this. Let's just communicate. Let's do it today and tomorrow. We'll just find an opportunity. We'll communicate this stuff to people because this is good. It is everything that is good. And we want other people to know about how good this is. So let's do it. Let's actually make that happen. So let's communicate as often as we possibly can. And sitting underneath all of that, of course, is compassion. This is the bedrock, the foundation of what it is to be vegan. And I know sometimes online you'll see arguments and things that crop up from time to time about people describing veganism in one way and veganism in another way. Is it a lifestyle? Is it a diet? Is it what is it? Who knows what it is? It is compassion. It is absolute compassion because it is looking into the eyes of every other earthling with whom we share this world and knowing that they are the same, essentially, as we are. That they equally are as valuable on this planet as we are. that they and their life matter just as much as our lives matter to us. And as we want to be treated well, we of course want others to be treated well too. So compassion sits at the foundation of everything about veganism. So when we're using our intelligence to communicate and to try and inspire people and to reach into people's souls, then we have as the heart of that this compassionate view of the world. It's something that really fires us. Let's use that fire in our souls that we know we've got and we feel. Let's give that to other people. Every time we communicate, let's talk with compassion. Let's share the kindness that how we live our lives. Let's use that and let's reach into other people with that compassion. That is what sits underneath everything that we do. And then finally, conviction. Because one thing we know, because we are vegan, we know absolutely that we are on the right side of history. We represent something extraordinary, something so powerful that it is so hard to contain it and not just want to explode with joy about what we know about our lives. We represent the very future of humanity and everyone on this planet. What we feel is what the world will be like. We will have a vegan world because there's a profound inevitability about that. Humans do lots of very, very stupid, cruel, violent, horrible things. But at the same time, people do ultimately as well want to live comfortable, well-meaning, good lives. And if we tell people how they can do it, then they will want to be a part of that, because that is the only way that we secure a future for ourselves and all others on this world. So when we communicate, we should and we must communicate with conviction, because this is the most important thing that we can ever do. We need to do this because we will be part of the greatest revolution in all of human history. This is going to be the most profoundly important thing that humanity has ever done, because for the first time we will then actually be living in accordance with our true nature as the herbivores that we so obviously are, and we will for the first time actually be including everyone in our circle of compassion. Despite the things that are still going on with the wars and the violence that we have, there has been, as we know, at least some progress over recent centuries. You go back a couple of hundred years and you see the way that women, half the world's population, were being treated pretty much everywhere on planet Earth. And things have improved in that regard. You go back only a century and you see that children, the ones that I want to reach out to when I go into schools, a century ago weren't going into schools pretty much. They were going to work at the age of 8 or 9 years old. So things have improved there as well. And in terms of some of the other prejudices that have so damaged our past, in terms of homophobia and treatment of those who are mentally and or physically incapacitated, things have improved. We have got better at caring about others. What we need to do now is just reach out a little bit further and just think that as gender doesn't matter in terms of caring, and as somebody's age doesn't matter in terms of caring, and somebody's sexual orientation obviously doesn't matter in terms of caring, or whether they're able-bodied, so-called, or not, doesn't matter in terms of caring, neither does their species. And all we have to do is just break through that last little prejudice that unfortunately still sits in as a major part of our society today, but when we do all the things I've talked about, when we communicate with conviction and let people know that they too can be part of this greatest revolution in all of history, then we are far, far more likely to create the world that we need to have. So all of that together, packaged together, is the epic approach to vegan advocacy. That is what helps to set off that little spark. With that education, talking to people, giving them the information that they need to be able to start thinking about these things for themselves, and telling them how easy it is to do that, that it's just obvious and straightforward, recognising where they come from and their current position and helping to guide them, and speaking with passion about that because we know something great. And we want to talk about that positively as well. Let's lose the negative energy, let's lose the negative emotion and communication, let's speak positively with intelligence about these things. Let's give people that feeling to inspire them to want to know these things for themselves. And let's constantly communicate, let's never stop, let's just talk and talk and talk about these things, and talk about the compassion that is in our lives and how they too can live that life. And let's communicate that with conviction, because we are part of something absolutely extraordinary and amazing. The key thing to remember about veganism is that this is the most radically wonderful philosophy in all of human history. Nothing comes close to what veganism gives you as a human being, and in terms of how you can live your life and what that means for other people and how you can communicate positively and connect with other people. Then veganism is the only philosophy worth bothering with. No religious faith comes close to it. No political ideology comes anywhere near what veganism will give to you and gives to other people. What you have when you are vegan is a connection with every other life on earth. And that is an amazing thought to have in your heart and in your mind and in your soul. When you wake up in the morning as a vegan and know that the spark in your heart is connected to the hearts of every other life on this planet, whether they creep or swim or fly, we have that profound, loving, compassionate connection with every single life on earth. So I end as I begin. It doesn't get any better than that. And that is what then transforms people's lives, and it creates that fire in their souls. I have that fire in my soul. I know you've got that fire in your souls too. And we can and we will communicate that to everybody else, and we will then definitely have the vegan world that we should always have had. Thank you very much.
Sorry if I feel without